God has you situated. Corinth was a powerful city in its time. It was crowded, influential, and full of opportunity. Ships passed through Corinth every day because it was positioned near the sea. Trade happened there, business happened there, culture flowed through there. Corinth was important because of where it was situated. But the same position that brought opportunity also brought temptation. Corinth became known for immorality, idolatry, greed, and corruption. Even the church struggled with sin. The believers fought with compromise, division, and unhealthy living. Yet God still planted a church there. Sometimes God places you in environments that are difficult, messy, and challenging, not because He forgot about you, but because He positioned you for purpose. Your location is not accidental. Your assignment is connected to where God has situated you. You may wonder why your life feels surrounded by pressure, temptation, or conflict. But God often places His people in strategic places so His light can shine in dark environments. Corinth teaches us something powerful. Position creates opportunity, but it also requires spiritual maturity. God has situated you where you are for a reason. Paul loved the Corinthian church deeply, and because he loved them deeply, they also had the ability to hurt him deeply. The deeper the investment, the deeper the pain. Paul had poured his life into these people. He prayed for them, taught them, corrected them, and suffered for them. Yet they still wounded him with their behavior and attitudes. Sometimes the people you help the most can become the people who disappoint you the most. But Paul teaches us something important. God can still work through dysfunctional relationships. Even powerful men and women of God experience heartbreak, rejection, misunderstanding, and conflict. Spiritual maturity does not mean you never get hurt. It means you continue walking in obedience even after the hurt. Paul refused to allow pain to stop the gospel. Some of us are waiting for perfect people before we obey God. But God has always used imperfect people to accomplish His perfect purpose. As we grow spiritually, God changes our definition of success. Early in ministry, it is easy to focus on crowds, numbers, recognition, and applause. But eventually, God begins to show us what truly matters. Paul learned that relationships matter more than appearances. A full church means nothing if your home is empty of love. Public success means little if private integrity is missing. God is not impressed by performance while the heart is broken. The world measures value by money, status, popularity, and achievement. But God measures value differently. Every human being carries equal worth in the eyes of God. The millionaire and the struggling person are equally loved by heaven. But in our personal lives, we must learn priorities. We must learn where to give our time, energy, attention, and devotion. Some people ask God for peace while living without priorities. But peace cannot grow in chaos. When Jesus becomes the center of your life, everything else begins to align correctly. Paul said, "When I came to Troas to preach the gospel of Christ, the Lord opened a door for me." That statement is powerful. The Lord opened the door. Not manipulation, not self-promotion, not performance. God opened the door. Every blessing in your life ultimately traces back to the grace of God. Your opportunities are not only the result of your talent. God positioned you, connected you, protected you, and opened doors you could never open alone. Sometimes we become prideful about our accomplishments, forgetting that even our abilities came from God. If God had not given you strength, wisdom, favor, and opportunity, your gifts alone would not be enough. Paul understood this. That is why he gave God the glory for every open door. And God still opens doors today. Doors of opportunity, doors of healing, doors of restoration, doors of ministry, doors of provision. But God also closes doors, and sometimes closed doors are just as important as open ones. A red light can protect your life just as much as a green light can move your life forward. Some closed doors are actually acts of mercy. So pray this prayer. Lord, open the doors you want for me, and close every door that is not part of your will. Paul understood something many people forget. If God opens the door, you do not have to force your way in. When we manipulate our way into positions, relationships, or opportunities, we also carry the burden of maintaining them through human effort. But when God opens the door, His grace sustains what His hand began. Some people entered relationships by pretending to be someone they were not. Now they feel trapped trying to maintain an image that is not real. Some people force themselves into opportunities God never assigned to them. And now they live under constant pressure and anxiety.
Paul's life is one of the greatest examples of transformation in Scripture. He once persecuted Christians, but God transformed him into one of the greatest apostles in history. What Paul once valued, he later called loss. His priorities changed completely after encountering Jesus. Status no longer mattered. Religious pride no longer mattered. Human achievement no longer mattered. Paul reached a place where he said, "All I want is to know Christ and make Him known." That is spiritual maturity. When your relationship with Jesus becomes more important than your reputation, possessions, or accomplishments, your life changes forever. God rearranges your value system. What once seemed important loses its grip on your heart, and suddenly, knowing Christ becomes your greatest treasure. One of the greatest truths in Paul's story is this: rejection became redirection. The Jewish people rejected Paul's message, so God opened the door for him to preach to the Gentiles. What looked like rejection was actually divine direction. Sometimes the closed door is leading you toward your true assignment. Sometimes the people who walk away are making room for the people God is sending. Sometimes rejection is not punishment, it is preparation. If one door refuses to open, do not lose hope. God knows how to open doors in deserts. God knows how to create paths through impossible situations. God knows how to lead you where you were always meant to be. When God opens a door, nobody can shut it. And when God closes a door, trust that He is still leading your life. Because the same God who situates cities also situates destinies. And God has you situated exactly where His purpose can reach you most. Sometimes we think God only works through victories, but many of God's greatest works happen through pain, disappointment, and struggle. Paul carried pain while preaching purpose. He dealt with rejection while still spreading the gospel. He experienced betrayal, loneliness, pressure, and conflict, yet God continued using him powerfully. This teaches us something important. Your pain does not cancel your purpose. Many people believe that if they are hurting, then God must have left them. But often God is doing His deepest work in the middle of your hardest season. Joseph was betrayed before he was promoted. David was hunted before he became king. Paul was rejected before he reached nations. God has a way of turning wounds into wisdom. The places where you cried the most may become the places where you minister the strongest. The battle that almost broke you may become the testimony that helps somebody else survive. Do not waste your pain.
Bring it before God, let Him heal it, shape it, and use it for His glory. Because God never promised a painless journey, but He did promise His presence. And if God is with you, your pain is never pointless. At the end of it all, the message is simple. Keep walking through the doors God opens. Do not stay trapped in fear. Do not stay frozen by rejection. Do not stay chained to your past. God is still opening doors. Some doors lead to healing. Some doors lead to growth. Some doors lead to new beginnings. Some doors lead to people who will strengthen your faith. Some doors lead to assignments bigger than you imagined. But every God-given door requires faith. You may not feel ready. You may not understand everything. You may still carry scars from old battles. Walk anyway. Because if God opened the door, He already prepared the grace for the journey ahead. The same God who positioned Corinth, the same God who transformed Paul, the same God who opened doors for the gospel, is still guiding your life today. So stop mourning every closed door. Stop chasing doors God locked. Stop trying to force what heaven never approved. Lift your head. Trust His timing. Trust His wisdom. Trust His direction. And when the Lord opens the next door, walk through it with confidence. Because where God guides, His grace follows. And where God sends you, His purpose will sustain you.